Tonight on To The Point.
Oh no, that looks like hell.
Evacuation orders expanding as the fast-moving Gann fire continues to burn throughout Calaveras County. A live look tonight at the firefight. Sacramento City Unified is running out of money. A special meeting getting underway right now as they look for solutions to avoid an emergency loan from the state. 82 lawsuits and millions of dollars spent. Why Democrats argue the state's lawsuits against the Trump administration are worth the money. And a community prepares to honor the victims of the deadly In-N-Out mass shooting, including one with local ties. Homes are burning and evacuation orders are expanding tonight in Calaveras County after a fast-moving wildfire continues to grow across the region. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. According to CAL FIRE, the Gann fire started on Monday near Hogan Dam Road and Gann Road in Valley Springs. It's now burned nearly 6,500 acres. There is 0% containment right now. We are told Governor Newsom has been briefed on the fire. The fire is burning north of Copperopolis and has intensified throughout the day. This is a look at the evacuation map. Now, the red indicates evacuation orders. That is a lawful order to leave now, and the area is closed to public access. The yellow area that you see right there indicates evacuation warnings, meaning there is potential threat to life and or property. Anyone who needs additional time to evacuate or those with pets and livestock, you should go ahead and leave now. I do want to get things out to ABC 10's Robbie Reynolds, who is live now west of Angels Camp with the latest on the firefight. Robbie, what can you tell us tonight?
Yeah, well, Alex, we're here. This is Hockamy Drive in Tapadero, which again, as you said, is west of Angels Camp, and we've just seen a home burn here off in the distance, as my photographer is going to show you. And you actually see it pretty clearly now because most of the smoke has kind of gotten out of the way, and you can see that structure has burned. Looks like it's some plants up in the front there as well. You see the entire burn scar covering that area. Real unfortunate to see, and that's what we've seen as we've been out here. We drove further down Hockamy, which kind of loops around this whole area here, and just nothing but devastation. Unfortunately, we've seen what appears to be like some sheds or some barns burn as well. This is the first home we've seen that's been damaged by the flames at this point. You see the smoke coming up there. And that's another thing, the smoke out in this area has been very bad as well. I had my mask on earlier. It's a little farther away from the smoke now, so I don't need it at this point. But yeah, just unfortunate to see it all out here. Alex, again, we first came over to Angels Camp on our way over here, and saw some people just kind of packing things in, driving around, not anybody really working around, and we haven't seen anyone out here at this point either. It looks like everyone pretty much left this area as we've been around here. Just unfortunate to see. This is kind of the spot. This appears to be hit the hardest, again, west of Angels Camp, this area. And also to give you an idea of how fast this fire is moving, we saw this home driving in, and that was maybe 30, 35 minutes ago. And it looked like it was clear. You could see some of the fire line next to it, but now it's been burned. So that gives you a sense of just how fast the fire is moving at this point.
We thank you so much. And we've also learned tonight that Calaveras Unified School District campuses will be closed tomorrow due to the fire. Make sure you stay with us as we continue to get those updates. Robbie, thank you so much. Well, the Sacramento City Unified School District is running out of money, and a crucial deadline is days away for requesting an emergency loan from the state. Right now, district trustees are in a special meeting discussing some possible solutions. ABC 10's Becca Hobbecker joins us in studio to explain what is at stake.
Yeah, Alex, a state bailout is a last resort for school districts facing insolvency. Since California established the process in the 1990s, 10 districts have needed one. Sac City Unified School Board does not want to become number 11, but with time and money running out, fiscal experts overseeing the districts say it may be the only realistic option.
Nobody is disputing the Sacramento City Unified School District is months away from going insolvent, or in other words, running out of cash if nothing changes. What is in question is what to do about it.
They should have already acted.
Mike Fine is CEO of the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team called FCMAT, an independent state agency that helps school districts address financial problems and other challenges. He says the latest data from early July shows Sac City Unified is on track to run out of cash sometime in February.
Is it possible that the district runs out of money, does not have cash to pay teachers,
classrooms closed.
There is a real threat that they run out of cash in February. And if they've done nothing, then we have that very threat you just described.
He says the state has a process for avoiding that scenario. A district approaching insolvency may, through its board of trustees, request an emergency loan from the state. But once granted, all board members lose their authority, the district superintendent is fired, and the county superintendent, along with state leaders, appoint a trustee to lead the district until it recovers financially, a process that can take years.
Going into receivership is an extreme measure for an extreme financial situation.
It's a last resort type of measure.
The state can't force this process upon the district. It can only happen if the board requests the loan. But time is running out. The loan request must be approved by the legislature, and August 31st is the final day lawmakers can pass a bill before beginning a months-long recess.
This week is the time because we need time to write the legislation and introduce it and have it passed all in the next 3 weeks.
But the board and Sacramento City Teachers Association think the district can fix this through local control. The two entities entered into an agreement to free up nearly $100 million using money from a retiree health benefit fund, Medi-Cal reimbursement fund, as well as unfilled vacancies. SCTA President Nikki Davis-Milevsky says it's
to stabilize things while we work on some of the other things that need to happen.
But the Sacramento County Office of Education rescinded the agreement on Friday, saying in part, taking assets from the trust fund will cost more over time, and the agreement ties the district's hands long term.
I've read their arguments, but I don't understand their arguments. I don't understand why they want to push us into state receivership. I think our locally elected school board and the teachers here and the community members that love the school district and our students, we're the ones who are in the best place to make decisions for our students.
At Tuesday's meeting, board members will vote on a resolution appealing that decision to the state superintendent.
I asked the California Department of Education what authority the state superintendent has in this particular matter. A spokesperson and FCMAT both told me state education code says the County Office of Education was in its full authority to rescind that agreement. The Teachers Association says it disagrees. And we have a crew at the meeting, and we'll bring you the latest on Late News Tonight at 11. Alex?
All right, Becca, thank you. President Donald Trump is in California tonight. He's in the Los Angeles area speaking at a fundraiser dinner for the Republican National Committee at his family's golf club. He's hoping to shore up support for Republicans in November elections that will determine whether his party keeps control of Congress. The last time Trump came to California was in 2025 after the Palisades at Eaton fires. Tomorrow he plans to discuss the economy during an event at Red Rock Casino in Las Vegas. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom shared a statement about the president's visit to the Golden State, saying, quote, Donald Trump is coming to Los Angeles to raise money while wildfire survivors are still waiting for the federal recovery funding he promised 18 months ago. Californians deserve a president focused on helping families rebuild, not raising money for himself at his golf course. The president's visit to California comes as the latest AP poll taken in July shows his overall approval rating at 33%. That's slightly below where he stood at this point in his first term. Only 32% of U.S. adults approved of Trump's handling of the economy. 69% characterized the state of the economy as poor, many saying the cost of everyday essentials like groceries and gas, things we really talk about here, was a major source of the stress of their lives. All right, still ahead, more than 80 lawsuits, nearly $30 million spent while California says its legal battle with the Trump administration is paying off. And a vigil tonight for the victims of the Idaho In-N-Out shooting, including one with local ties.
And I'm tracking the latest with the Gann fire. When will we see the smoke clear from the area? What's the latest on the fire conditions? I'll break that all down coming up next.
But first, another headlines tonight. Equipment from Southern California Edison caused the deadly Eaton fire in Los Angeles County. That's according to a report from the LA County Fire Department, specifically electrical arcing of an out-of-service tower. The Eaton fire killed 19 people, destroyed or damaged more than 9,000 homes and businesses. 14,000 acres were burned. No response yet from Southern California Edison. A man has been arrested in connection with the Old Trails fire in Washington state. 37-year-old Aaron Fernacci was arrested arrested Monday afternoon on a first-degree arson charge and is being held on a $1 million bond. The sheriff said the investigation into the suspect began Saturday when a witness reported they noticed a man near where the fire started. County records reveal Farinacci had an Arizona manslaughter conviction in 2012 and was released from prison in 2020. And a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is expected to crash into the moon early tomorrow morning. It was used to launch 2 lunar landers more than 18 months ago. Its booster successfully returned to Earth, but solar activity and gravity prevented its second stage from doing so. Astronomers plan to use the accident to help study what happens when artificial objects hit the moon. Here's another live look from Calaveras County tonight, where fire crews are battling the Gann fire. Evacuation orders are in effect and expanding tonight. The fire has burned more than 6,500 acres, and there is no containment so far. I do want to get things over to Peter. Peter, this is moving so fast.
I know, right?
Evacuation orders and warnings expanding. Talk a little bit more about what people need to know if they are in those areas.
Yeah, Alex, it's been an insane almost really rate of spread. This time yesterday when we were talking about this, it was a 30-acre fire. Now it's almost 6,500 acres. That shows how quickly and rapidly this fire has grown out in Calaveras County. You can see all the smoke that's coming with it. Now, when it comes to the evacuation warnings, the orders themselves, it's pretty much to the east of 49 and also 4. That's where you're getting the evacuation warnings. Now, the orders, that's all in the areas in the red to the west there. You can see the zones here. You got 109 down towards 147. That's where you have an evacuation order where you have to leave right now. Now, the evacuation warnings, those are closer to the more populated areas here. Now, if you do, again, have to evacuate, out near Valley Springs, at the Valley Springs Veterans Hall, that's the evacuation. So that's where you're going to be safe to go if you do need to evacuate. But I want to zoom in a little bit closer here to the more populous areas. We got Angels Camp here. We also have Copperopolis. Notice between the two, we have evacuation warnings, but not in the cities themselves or the towns themselves here just yet. And there's something with evacuation warnings I want to remind you of here as well. If you have a large family, if you have medical devices, pets, it's usually a good time to leave during the evacuation warning rather than the order itself, because it's going to take you a little bit more time. This is really a fire driven by the heat. We've been seeing temperatures well into the 100s for the past few days, and we haven't had a whole lot of wind. And notice we're not seeing a whole lot of wind here right now. It's just the dry fuels that is really allowing these fires, or this fire itself, to grow pretty quickly. And the smoke as well, it's going to stay because we don't have a whole lot of wind. Notice as we get towards 9 o'clock tonight, it's going to be a hazy morning in the foothills here, really throughout the area, continuing into your Wednesday morning. Yeah, we'll get some relief by Wednesday afternoon, but look, right once we get towards 5 o'clock again, it's going to happen again here tomorrow evening. So that's going to bring some impacts to air quality. And really, as we get through the next few days, we're going to continue to talk about fire danger, not just this fire, but throughout the region, because more heat's in the forecast. So these dry fuels that you've really allowed this fire to grow so rapidly will just continue to dry as this high pressure makes its way closer towards the region. So tonight we're looking at lows right around the 60-degree mark. Tomorrow highs back into the upper 90s to low 100s here throughout the area. And then as we get towards next weekend, we're really going to start to see temperatures climb here back into the 100s here for the weekend. So those fuels are going to be dry. It's going to be hot out there again. That's why we need to practice fire safety. In your 10-day forecast, it's still really hot all the way until we get towards the start of next week, or more so midweek, Alex, where we finally get some relief from these near or at or above triple-digit temperatures.
All right, Peter, thank you. Right after the break, mixed messages from the U.S. and Iran. Tonight, what we know about the latest efforts for possible agreement. And California leaders are defending nearly $30 million spent suing the Trump administration, why they say the legal battles are paying off. Welcome back in. This morning, California's Democratic leaders provided an update on the state's ongoing lawsuits against the Trump administration, with 82 lawsuits filed and nearly $30 million spent. ABC 10 political reporter Jenny Hubb breaks down the numbers for us tonight.
Over the last year and a half, we've taken Trump and his administration to court 82 times. 82 times, more than one lawsuit a week.
And counting, says California Attorney General Rob Bonta. Bonta, Senate President Pro Tem Monique Limon, and Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas on Tuesday presenting their annual report on how much has been spent so far on taking the second Trump administration to court, nearly $30 million. About $20 million of that is from a special fund set up as Trump was sworn in.
He showed his hand, and in response, we made a plan.
The funding represented the commitment of the legislature and of the governor and our attorney general to ensure that the rights of Californians are at the forefront.
Up to $25 million was allocated for California to sue the federal government over what they call harmful policies.
Some people at that time, they criticized that decision. They said it was the wrong priority for our legislature.
On top of that, the state budget last year set aside $14 million, $28 million this year, and $24 million for the following 2 years for any legal action with the Trump administration. Democratic leaders argue there's been a return on investment, $207 billion in federal funding saved for public safety, education, food assistance, healthcare, and more, despite efforts by the Trump admin to withhold the money, they say. Bonta says that calculation comes from lawsuits with court orders thus far, with about 24 or so cases still pending.
You can be sure we are far from done. There's more of this presidential term left.
A White House spokesperson responding in part, quote, instead of bragging about filing frivolous lawsuits against the Trump administration, the California AG should focus on addressing problems in his own state. State Republicans agree, asking instead for better public safety funding.
All of us got elected by the people of California, and we need to keep our focus here in the state of California. How much money have we actually allocated towards creating safer neighborhoods and communities? How much money have we put into drug trafficking?
Bonta also notes he's been able to protect birthright citizenship, elections and voting access, and prevent the federalization of the National Guard to Los Angeles and Oregon. Jenny He, ABC 10.
Bonta also noting hope for continued Democratic governorship once Governor Newsom is termed out so that these legal efforts against the Trump administration can continue in full force. Well, questions remain tonight around the state of talks between the U.S. and Iran over the war. Both sides have given conflicting viewpoints on the status while making their frustrations with one another very clear. Maddie Gannon explains from the White House.
The week so far has been defined by the uncertainty hanging over exactly where talks between the U.S. and Iran currently stand. But we did get new insight Tuesday from a key player in it all. A spokesperson for Qatar's foreign ministry told reporters that there are efforts underway to reach a diplomatic solution between all parties. He added that language of a potential agreement has been drafted and is being circulated, but he said currently there are no direct talks between the U.S. and Iran happening. Just hours later, we heard from U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said there's been progress on talks about the Strait of Hormuz, although he said currently there's no finality.
I think that there's a conversation and negotiation that we are involved in between Oman and Iran on how more ships can be able to go through there safely in the short term as we move towards these longer term talks about denuclearization.
This all sheds light on exactly where things stand as we've heard competing statements from the U.S. and Iran over the last few days. It was just this past weekend that President Donald Trump said he was calling off additional strikes against the country because he said the parameters of a deal to end the 5-month-old war had been reached. Trump then started the week insisting that talks were taking place and slamming Iranian leadership for pushing back on that. In one True Social post, he described Iranian leadership as unbelievably duplicitous. For its part, Iran has said it is only in talks with Oman over managing a temporary route through the Strait of Hormuz. At the White House, I'm Maddie Gannon.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche could soon lose the interim part of his title. He's now heading for a full Senate confirmation vote. That's after 2 key Republican senators backed him during the Judiciary Committee vote today. John Cornyn and Tom Tillis say they came around after Blanche rescinded President Donald Trump's so-called anti-weaponization fund. Critics say that it was a $1.8 billion slush fund for Trump allies. Texas Senator John Cornyn speaking ahead of today's vote.
I asked for written assurances that clarifies the scope of the parties to the IRS audit agreement and that permanently ends the weaponization fund. While this may sound like nitpicking to some, it's critically important not only to me but to other members of the Senate.
Cornyn says he also wanted assurances that Trump's IRS settlement wouldn't give his family and him immunity from future tax investigations. Happening tonight, a community-led vigil is being held for the victim of Saturday's deadly shooting in Idaho at an In-N-Out restaurant that we've been talking about. 3 people were killed and at least 7 hurt in the attack when a gunman shot at the restaurant. The suspected gunman died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Last night, we actually learned one of the 3 people killed was from Stockton. Ashley Garabai was on a team chosen to train new employees and had traveled to Idaho from her home in Stockton. Her family telling us that she proudly traveled to open new stores, and her dream was to one day manage an In-N-Out store. They said that she loved her work and called her an amazing, beautiful soul who loved living life. We'll be right back right after this break. All right, welcome back in. Taking a look live now at the Gann fire burning out in Calaveras County. This is a fast-moving fire. It continues to grow. We know that it has at least burned one home. We do have a crew on scene, as you see there. Evacuation orders and warnings have been expanded. Make sure you stay with us for updates on air and online. Of course, you can find all of this information on our website. If you have questions, of course, you can reach out to our team. But again, heed those warnings from officials. This is a very serious, fast-moving fire. A lot of resources in the state being put to help put this fire out. We'll see you later.